People tryna say I'm only enemy. Got a code with my dogs, can get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Amen.
What is up, everybody? Week 6 is almost in the books. We got a fantastic Monday Night Football slate. We got not one, but 2 games, and both games that I'm very excited for, not just as a football fan, but for prop betting. There's a lot of great spots in this. We got the Washington Commanders against the Chicago Bears and the Buffalo Bills against the Atlanta Falcons. JJ, how are you feeling going into tonight?
I mean, we've been deep diving this Monday night header for so long, the entire weekend. So I feel like we got this down to a T. But we'll see what the actual results are.
Oh yeah, unintentionally too. Like before I realized these were Monday Night Football games, I'm texting him on like Thursday, like, "Oh, this is a great spot for this player," and then we end up talking about like 5 players before we even realize that it's a Monday night game. So we're excited for this. We hope you guys are excited for this, and we're gonna get into this. JJ, which game you want to knock off first?
Let's go with the first one. Let's go with Bills versus Falcons.
Bills, Falcons it is. Bills coming off a primetime loss last week against the Patriots. Falcons coming off a bye week. I mean, pick your poison, because on one hand, nobody thinks the Bills are losing 2 in a row. But coming after a bye week, I'd like to target teams coming off of a bye. Don't really get much of an edge on either side there. So from a matchup standpoint, let's start with the passing game. What are you seeing?
From the passing game, you look at the Falcons, you look at Jeff as their defensive coordinator. He's always loved single high. And right now, they're running at the highest rate in the league. You think around like almost 70%, which is ridiculous. So that's not changing week to week. He's going to continue to run single high no matter who he's playing. So I trust that. And when you look at that, the 2 targets is going to be Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid. Now with Kincaid, his numbers are a little bit better. I think like over 3 yards per out run, pretty high targets per out run. But he's been limited in practice all week. And the last practice, he still had the non-contact jersey on with an oblique injury. So I think that leads me to believe like Khalil Shakir could have the better game here, especially with them allowing the 5th highest target share to receivers in the slot. And obviously Khalil Shakir is a slot guy. So that's what kind of leaning towards there.
I know there's somebody you want to fade on the Bills side, so I'm not going to steal that one from you. I'm going to let you get into that one yourself.
Yeah. One person I want to fade in the receiving game for the Bills. Could be genius, could be an idiot here, but James Cook. And, I think his line's probably about like 14.5 yards right now. But, I mean, the Falcons are the only team in the league that are allowing single-digit receiving yards per game to the running back position. That's honestly pretty impressive considering they faced Bucky Irvin, they faced Bill, they've already faced the Vikings, and I think somebody else I forget. But like when you look at the running backs combined, like single-digit receiving yards is pretty insane.
Yep. I mean, I'm pulling it up here in terms of looking at other running backs. Bill Crosby-Merritt, only 10 receiving yards. Bucky Irving, only 8. Jordan Mason, only 8. Rico Dowdle, 8. So it's definitely a little bit murky. Chuba Hubbard, only 3. Rashad White, 2. So there has yet to be a running back that has crossed this line, both bell cows and not bell cows. So I see the vision, especially when the last 2 weeks, going into last week as well, they said this, and it only sort of came to fruition, but they want to ease up the usage on James Cook to keep him healthy for the end of the season. So if that remains true, then that only goes in your favor even more for the under. I mean, we were looking at the film earlier. The Falcons are there. You mentioned their cover 1 rate. Along with that is their man coverage rate, and they always have a man on that running back, and he's not getting beat very often. So I completely see the vision with fading James Cook in the receiving department specifically.
Yep, and like the standout for that is like Devine Diablo. Like he's been an absolute monster defending tight ends and running backs. So, I mean, it kind of leads me to believe like you got to go to these receivers here instead of Kincaid and obviously James Cook.
Oh yeah, and real quick before we get into the run game, for anybody that wants access to the new website that we've been building out, just DM us on Twitter, whether it's me, JJ, or the MCA account, or scan that QR code and you will get access to it. But let's get into the pass game or the run game for the Bills. We've been talking about James Cook. What are you seeing in the run game matchup, JJ?
The run game matchup, I think it's kind of like middle of pack, but it could be a little tough here. Just looking at the schemes and how they defend it. But I mean, with James Cook, we've seen the coaches going into last week's game saying they want to lower his usage, get ready for playoffs, and we saw that last week. Like I think 15 or 16 carries only versus someone that's had 19 plus in almost every game or something like that.
I can tell you 71% rush attempt share, 63% route share, which has been near his average. But the 2 games before that, he was at 85 and 79% rush share. So it was climbing, and then it looks like it's coming back down a little bit.
Yeah, so I do think that sticks. I think with just format, I just don't think there's a huge edge in his rushing, but could be based on volume. But I don't think his volume will be as high as we've seen the first 3-4 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and the Falcons have been, at least from the explosive rush department, they've been pretty good at not allowing explosive rushes. So it's kind of one of those games where if James Cook had a good game, it wouldn't surprise me. If he doesn't have a good game, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't really have a stance in terms of the rushing game for the Bills. However, on the other side, with the Bills defense, if there's every game to get excited about Bijan Robinson, it's this one. The Bills' explosive rushes, success rate, whatever, players in the box, you name it, they're allowing a lot of success to opposing running offenses. And now you get Bijan Robinson coming in. Arguably the best running back in the NFL. Disaster could be ensuing for that defense.
And I found some interesting stats for Bijan that I posted on Twitter earlier in the week. So it says the Falcons are currently running the second most 12 personnel in the league at 43%. And they've been averaged out of this EPA per rush out of it. But we already know the Bills bad against explosive rushes and all that. But when you look at zone runs and out of 12 personnel, I mean, these guys are one of the worst in the league, because it says here's where they rank out of zone rushes out of 12 personnel. 7.56 yards per carry, second worst. Adjusted yards per carry, 7.26 yards, second worst. Yards before contact per attempt, 2.06, 13th worst. Yards after contact per attempt, 5.5, which is second worst. Success rate, 12th worst. EPA per rush, second worst. Bijan just has to have a monster game here, just looking at the stats.
And dude, he's been it hasn't been talked enough about how ridiculous he's been this season, the numbers he's been putting up. Some of it's been more receiving, some of it's been more rushing, depending on the game. But just overall, he's being used a lot and he's showing out a lot. So I'm excited to watch what Bijan does in this one, not just because I have him in my fantasy team. As far as the Atlanta Falcons pass game, it gets a little bit weirder because these are the 2 top pass defenses and passing yards allowed per game so far. And it kind of scares when you look at the Falcons receiving options. However, Darnell Mooney is out. And what that means is you want to target Drake London, because in 2 games without Darnell Mooney and with Michael Penix, he's had 15 and 18 targets. If it happens once, cool, might have been an outlier. But now that it's happened twice, it's kind of okay, there's very clearly just, hey, when this guy's out, we're throwing it to this guy and we're not thinking twice.
Yeah.
The only other one to really talk about as kind of iffy is Kyle Pitts, because Bills run a lot of too high, which you normally think favors tight ends. But then it goes to, if Drake London is getting 15 targets, how much is left on the bone for Kyle Pitts? So I don't know what you're seeing there, JJ.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts, I'd rather just have him go against single high. So even with Darnell Mooney out, I kind of just want to stay away from it. It could go either way. But someone I do have some interest in is Casey Washington. The books are scared to give us a line for him. But when I looked at the second half of last week, or their last game in week 4, I should say, when Mooney went out, he was dominating the snap share after that. And it's we already talked about 12 personnel. They run a lot of it. And it has to be continue to run a lot of it going against the Bills, especially you got Ed Oliver coming back on that defense. I think having an extra blocker is going to help a ton here. But he's going to be one of the main guys in those 2 receiver sets. And I think, who was it? Who's the other receiver?
For the Falcons, Ray McLeod?
Ray McLeod, yeah. He's mainly on 3 receiver sets. Like, those were the only snaps he got last week or 2 weeks ago. And I think, pretty sure that's continued to trend most of the season as well, because he mainly plays in the slot. So if you see a lot of 2 receiver sets, Casey Washington could be a sleeper here.
I love it. The one more thing I'll say about London that I forgot to mention is, as scary as that pass defense is for the Bills, 2 things I want to make clear. On 15 targets last week without Mooney, he didn't even reach 100 air yards, so it seems to be lower A-dot plays, which works in his favor if the Bills aren't allowing a lot of big chunk plays. And the second thing is, we just saw Diggs rip this team to shreds. Not that they're the same receiver, but they're both used as possession receivers that just win on their routes, mostly on the interior, whether it's coming from the slot or outside. They both line up there, but they work the middle of the field really well. And what for some people who follow Jacob Gibbs on Twitter, he calls horizontal routes. Drake London fits that bill. Stephon Diggs fits that bill. And we just saw Stephon Diggs absolutely demolish this team last week. So I think you can turn on the tape if you're the Falcons and try and use Drake London in a lot of those similar ways, especially with Matt Milano out for the Bills here. I think that's everything we had to talk about in the Bills game. Unless I'm missing anything, JJ?
I think that's it.
All right, let's go to the Bears and Commanders. Another team with the Bears coming off of a bye week, and the Commanders with kind of a hobbled offense right now with both Jaden McDaniels and Deebo Samuel. Not really at 100% health, but both of them should be playing here. The key thing that I want to target on the Commander side, so I guess we can start there, is the rookie running back, Bill Krosky-Merritt. Wow, how good has he been, JJ?
I mean, he's just ultra efficient. He's like last year's Bucky Irvin.
I mean, everybody panicked early, too, because with Austin Eckler getting injured and them trading away Brian Robinson, seemed like the obvious choice was to use him. And then they kind of eased him up. They didn't give him more than 10 carries until last week. However, last week on 14 carries, he had 111 rushing yards. He played too well for them not to continue that usage. So in a matchup like this, who honestly is one of the better ones in the NFL, JJ, is it cool if I share that sheet that we were talking about earlier this week?
Go ahead.
All right. So this is a sheet focusing mainly on explosive rush rate. And as you can see, it's filtered for highest explosive rush rate, which is 10 plus rushing yards, to lowest. You guys can see Chicago Bears here as the second highest. Not only do they have the second highest explosive rush rate, 20.32 yards per explosive rush. So if you get into that second level, you're not stopping at the linebackers. You are going for a big one. And that's something that Krosky-Merritt has been showing very well so far. So yeah. I am personally on his over 15.5 longest rush as a straight prop, as an official prop. I think he might break off a 40-yarder, if I'm being completely honest. If you want to ladder his rush yards, I would be completely with you. But I've been pretty vocal about the fact that I don't believe in the Bears defending the run at the second level. I said that going into week 1. I still think that remains, obviously, I think that remains the case. It's been shown through 5 weeks now. But yeah, I'm big on the rookie this week, which I'm usually not keen to back rookies in primetime games. Anything else, or we move on to the other side?
I was looking at FTN, and Chicago is ranked 32nd in DVOA against the second level. So
sounds about right.
Yeah.
In the pass game, there's some talk over Luke McCaffrey. Then there's Deebo Samuel, like I mentioned. You expect him to get the usage with Terry McLaurin being out. And then there's Zach Ertz in the mix as a tight end. Personally, with not knowing how healthy Jaden McDaniels is and the Bears leaning on a lot of man coverage, and I don't think the Commanders, there's nobody in that lineup. I'm like, oh, that's a man beater right there. There's not anybody I love to target in that receiving room unless you're seeing something else.
Yeah, like if we had a healthy Deebo, that's who I would target, but unclear like how good he is. But I mean, if you trust him to be good to go, by all means, play him.
Yeah.
I'd probably take his receiving yards. His yards per route run looks fantastic. I mean, I think he's getting like over 30% targets per route run against their coverages. I think the sleeper here, when I was looking it up, would probably be Luke McCaffrey, but it just depends on how many routes he's able to run. But I mean, you got Noah Brown still out, Terry McLaurin still out. I think he should still get decent usage here.
This would be the perfect Terry game. I know he had a slow start to the season. If he was ever going to break out, this would be the matchup for it.
Definitely.
But on the other side of the ball, pass game, Washington also likes to run a lot of man coverage. When you look at the Chicago Bears against man coverage, Rome Odunze, what is it, 4.2 yards per out run, JJ? Something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then against zone, it's like 1.3. So it's a very big split for Rome. And if you think that they're going to continue doing what they've been doing as a Commander's defense and running a lot of man coverage, Odunze should have a great night. However, I know you have some concerns, JJ, so I'll let you get into that.
Yeah. Just looking at it, you look at this Commanders defense, their front four, they get pressure. They've been getting pressure consistently at a top 5 rate all season. And Caleb Williams hasn't been the greatest against pressure, but he hasn't completed a lot of passes when he's been pressured. So it really depends on how Caleb Williams does against this pressure.
Yep. And I'll say I'm a Ben Johnson believer, and there is some Lions bias in that, knowing how well the Lions offense looked coming off of bye weeks in previous years. So I think there is upside to that. I don't know how complex the system itself is, but there clearly has been week to week. They've been saying, okay, Caleb Williams is picking it up more, but there's still a lot more he has to learn, whether it's footwork or reading progressions. So coming off a bye week, I think there's upside that we see that significantly improve. However, again, I don't know how much of it is Caleb Williams. I don't know how much of it is just the system itself is complex. So this is going to be a very telling game to that question. And I think the concern makes sense. But I'm not really keen to target DJ Moore or Cole Kmet. There's been some talks over Luther Burden and Loveland both getting more usage and more targets here. It's one that I kind of want to see it to believe it first, just because they do have Zacchaeus. It's not like Burden's being locked up and he has crazy potential. Like, they could just keep using Zacchaeus, and I don't know how healthy Loveland is. It's one of those things I'm perfectly fine being late to the party. You don't have to be early on every breakout star. And if they break out tonight, great. I'd rather miss out on potentially making money rather than lose it if I bet on them and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, if you want to target one of those guys, use less units and just throw down on the outline. If they break out, they're gonna go crazy. That's just how you got targeted.
And now we can get to my least favorite thing to talk about with the Bears is their run game, because their offensive line is playing great in the run game. The schemes that they're drawing up by Ben Johnson and crew, great. Unfortunately, the lead running back there is DeAndre Swift, and he unfortunately cannot break out anything outside of what's directly being given to him. He's not getting any extra yards. He's not getting any yards after contact. He's not making people miss. So, again, bye week, that could change. However, it's not like Swift is a rookie. This has been an issue for years. Personally, I am not opposed to taking the rookie behind him. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Kyle Monangai, I think he's actually pretty solid. He looks to be healthy now, and I think if they're going to give him a chance to break out and see 8 carries or something like that, I think this would be a great game to do it.
Yeah, usually rookies do better after the bye, or like just the second half in season in general, as they get adjusted to the NFL style and the pace and all that.
But yep, I think that's everything we have to talk about. Oh, no, there's one more that I forgot to mention. This is actually in the Buffalo game. Josh Allen rushing yards.
Yep.
I think we could see a huge game from him in that department. We've seen a couple quarterbacks already have success against this Atlanta Falcons defense, but for those who've been seeing Sumer Sports, it's kind of like a chat GPT for NFL stats. If you guys want to go check that out, you can. But one of the things that I was playing around with was looking at yards per scramble and scramble to pressure rate compared to average. So if a team faces Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes in 3 straight games, obviously they're going to be allowing more yards per game. So I found a way to kind of adjust that to just make it quarterback adjusted and compare it to league average. And it spit out this combined score chart. And the teams at the top are teams that are really good at keeping the quarterback from rushing the ball. So we just saw Justin Fields against the Broncos. He looked terrible rushing the ball. Jalen Hurts, the same thing the week before. And then the guys at the bottom here, Jets, Dolphins, Chargers, Chiefs, Falcons, they're the ones that allow quarterbacks to leak out and scramble a lot. In that Jets game, we saw Bo Nix break off a couple big ones. Justin Herbert's let us down against the Dolphins. But Tua unusually scrambled a little bit and got some rushing yards against the Chargers. Same with Goff against the Chiefs. And Drake May bounced back and had a great rushing game against the Saints. I say this because, again, the Falcons are right here at minus 26.5. Josh Allen gets that matchup. And if you look at Josh Allen rushing matchups in the past, Miami is a division game. The division games he does usually run less in. Baltimore, they rank as one of the better defenses at stopping the run. We saw the Jets as the worst. He had 59 rushing yards against them. Saints, they were just behind the Falcons, 45 rushing yards. And Patriots, he had 53. They pretty much ranked average. If we go to 2024, we saw a lot of the same. Against teams that were below average in defending this, or in that chart in 2024 stats, Arizona, he had 39 rushing yards. Jacksonville, 44. Baltimore, he faced them twice. They were among the better defenses at stopping the run, so he went under twice. Houston ranked pretty poorly, 54 yards. Tennessee was actually the best matchup. That one was weird. He only got 1 rushing yard. But then the rest, again, we had Kansas City, 55. LA Rams, he had 82. I don't remember where Denver ranked. I don't think they were high. But then Kansas City again with 39. So I think it was 6-1 when I counted it all up of going over his rushing yards line. And he's already 2-0 this season in similar circumstances. So I think we see that show up again today in what is a good matchup.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some ladder potential there.
Oh, yeah. I think that's what I'm going to do, honestly. I posted Drake London and Bill at straights. I think I'm going to ladder Josh Allen rushing yards. Whether I do it in a parlay or whether I do it as a straight, I'll see. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you guys before we get into the primetime parlay is this chart right here. I used ChatGPT to make it cleaner, but I promise you all the stats are accurate. When we make our touchdown props, we pretty much look at 2 things. Rushing touchdown percentage, so what percentage of touchdowns allowed are rushing touchdowns or passing touchdowns, and pass rate over expected in the red zone. The Bills currently rank as one of the highest teams, maybe the highest if I can double check, or 4th highest in rushing touchdown percentage allowed. They also have a minus 9% pass rate over expected in the red zone. What does that mean? Bijan Robinson, go get yourself in the end zone. Atlanta Falcons are on the other side of that. They have the 7th highest pass percentage touchdown, so 75% pass percentage touchdown, and the highest pass rate over expected allowed or against them in the end zone. What does that mean? Josh Allen passing touchdowns. I don't really want to try and pick the receiver on the other end of that, but you can if you want. And then Commanders and Bills were pretty average. So as far as touchdown upside, I'd say Bills passing touchdowns and Atlanta Falcons rushing touchdowns. Now we can get to the parlay.
Yeah.
So, like I said, great rushing touchdown matchup against the Bills. We're going to be targeting Bijan Robinson, and we're pairing that with Josh Allen over rushing yards. Just talked extensively on those. So if you skip to the parlay, like I know a lot of you do, don't lie to me. Just rewind about 2 minutes, and you'll probably see us talk about that. And lastly, we're taking Bears. We took the plus 7.5 alternate so we could get that key touchdown number at 7. There is a very nice system that supports this, but even outside of that, I just like targeting Ben Johnson coming off a bye against a Commanders team that I think is banged up in a lot of the positions that are pretty key to them. All that together is plus 472. For once, I have no idea why DraftKings upped my limits on boost. This one, they let me put 3/4 of a unit, so that's what I did. I don't think that's going to stay consistent because on the other boost they gave me today, I'm right back down to 0.1 units. So we'll see what happens. But make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss future videos. And again, that website is new. It came out this week. We're not being paid to promote it. It's our website. We want to provide that information to you. So if you have any questions, let us know. If you want access to the site, either scan that QR code or DM us on Twitter, and we'll give you access to that. But otherwise, good luck today. Let's make some money. JJ, good to see you as always. And we'll be celebrating this parlay after it hits.